Hello everyone, Madison here, or Mad, if you'd like to call me that. Today we're diving into some essential skills for artists, graphic designers, even writers, giving critiques to others. So giving a constructive critique is super important, whether you're in the classroom, you're in a work setting, a professional setting, you're part of an online community. Knowing how to critique art and give good feedback that can help foster growth and creativity in someone is really important. So just in case you haven't seen my other videos, for a little background, I'm coming at this from having an advanced art degree, so that means I actually have about 8 years of being in art school. So that means that you're constantly giving and receiving critiques. So I have a lot of experience there. I also have a staff of designers and creatives that I give feedback to on a regular basis, daily. So let's get into this and learn how to give good critiques. Okay, point number 1 is be specific. First and foremost, avoid vague comments like, I like this or I don't like this. These statements don't really contribute to someone's growth. While saying that you like someone's work is nice and it could make them feel good, it doesn't really give them a lot to go on as far as improving. And if it's more specific, it also helps them feel like you're really reacting to the work in a more genuine way, in a more interested way than just saying that you like something. So if you do like something, you can explain why. Is it the vibrant colors? Is it the typography choice? The tension between different shapes maybe? The innovative composition? The more details you give, the more valuable your feedback can be to that person. So point number 2, a helpful method in giving critiques is using glows and grows. Glows are where you commend what's done well, and grows are areas for improvement, basically. This technique ensures you're giving some balanced feedback, and it can be really helpful to keep this in mind, especially if you are a more introverted person or you're a little bit nervous about giving a critique, especially like if you're in a class setting. This will give you some time to kind of think about what you want to say as you're giving the grows, and also build up a little bit of rapport before you get into some constructive feedback. So point number 3 is highlighting the strengths or the grows of the person's artwork. Always try to identify a piece's strengths, even if you feel like there's a lot that could be improved about the piece, maybe even more than there are grows. It's important to let the person know what they are doing well. So these could be the person's technical skills, it could be the emotional expression that the piece has, it could be their idea or concept, the thought that they've put into the piece or the amount of effort they've put into the piece. It could be a great use of color or space. Highlighting these positives boosts the creator's confidence and encourages them to continue leveraging those strengths in their future work. Moving on to point 4, suggesting improvements or grows. So next, talk about what could be improved with the work. Constructive criticism should be just that. It should be constructive. So suggest how it could be better instead of just saying that you don't like it or something doesn't work. You need to try to give answers to why you think something doesn't work. Maybe the perspective isn't quite right and they need to, if they're doing a still life, shift the perspective up or down. Maybe the angle on the edge of a table doesn't look quite right, and if they fix that, it would be perfect. Maybe the colors could be more harmonious. Maybe the typography or fonts that they chose are kind of clashing together and it's distracting from other areas of the piece. Maybe there's something else that could be distracting from the focal point or what the person is really trying to say. Maybe adding or subtracting an element could help the person's idea come across a lot more clearly. That's also something that's really important when you're an artist that's making work, especially if you have an idea that you're trying to convey, something conceptual or something personal, and you want the audience to get something out of that piece. The critiques can help test whether the people in the room are feeling that emotion or if they're reading the piece the way that you're hoping that they will. And as a person giving critique, you can help the artist achieve their goal, basically. by letting them know what they could potentially improve. Just do your best to frame your suggestions in a way that promotes experimentation and learning. So point number 5 is sort of optional, but I definitely encourage it. If you know other artists or designers who work in the same subject matter or maybe in a similar way, or just based on the person whose work you're looking at, you feel like they would respond to these other artists' work, I think it's definitely worth suggesting them as artists to look at. This is something that happens a lot. If you're in art school, you'll have a professor, maybe some students suggesting artists for you to look at, for you to go look up in a book or on Instagram, something like that. A big part of being a good artist, in my opinion, a good designer, a good writer, filmmaker, any of that type of thing, a good creator, is to always be looking at other work and taking things in, taking in experiences and also taking in other work. It's also really important to know what's going on in your field. What are other contemporary artists making? Are there people that share a similar background to you that are also making work that is about similar themes? So all that kind of stuff can really help improve your artwork. And if you're critiquing somebody else's artwork and you offer up these kind of suggestions, it can really help the person know what is possible, in this theme, this genre that they've chosen to maybe make work in. So contemporary examples generally means living artists. That I feel like that's a good thing to encourage. In art classes, art history classes, you are going to get, a lot of backstory, primarily focusing on, ancient art, things from Italy, stuff like that. But it is really important to also know what people are doing right now today. In some ways that can be even more relevant than the things that people were doing hundreds of years ago. So a general example of this would be if the person you're critiquing makes large abstract paintings, then you can suggest an artist that you think they would respond to that also makes large-scale abstract paintings or paintings with abstraction. Or it doesn't even have to also be a painting. It could be a sculptor, it could be a printmaker. And lastly, remember that practice makes perfect. Critiquing well, as well as receiving critique well, will get easier over time. It takes skill. The more you do it, the better you'll get, basically. As far as receiving critiques, listen, reflect, use the feedback to refine your art. I would say one caveat, though, is to take critiques with a grain of salt, because you do want to improve your work, but sometimes only you really understand the intention of your work, especially if you're different than everybody else in the room. They might just not understand your work, or they might not be the right audience for your work. So just kind of keep that stuff in mind, stay true to yourself, and do your best to improve your work. Like I said, I might do a video in the future about some critique horror stories. I've received critiques that weren't constructive, that weren't appropriate. So if you have, you're not alone. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're interested in learning more and looking forward to more videos. Thanks for watching, and remember to keep creating art.